Hi everyone. The purpose of this screen recording today is to give you a brief overview of an iBook that we've created as a result of the trial this year in Year 4 at Oakley State School of a Bring Your Own program, which was in the form of a Bring Your Own iPad for us this year. We've titled the book Above and Beyond. It's in the top shelf there of the iBook shelf. It's been called Above and Beyond because as part of our findings, we believe that putting personal devices in the hands of children gives them the opportunity to go above and beyond what they otherwise might have been able to do. So I'll just tap on that book and open it. We immediately go to the beginning media, which we plan to be a student-produced movie clip by the end of the year. And the first chapter is all about the actual BYO trial that we conducted, the focus of it, and what we were actually investigating. And you can see there on that first page that we were investigating levels of engagement and motivation, levels of engagement within curriculum areas, ability to work independently, and the facilitation of creative approaches to demonstrating and communicating understanding. You'll note there that quite deliberately we weren't looking at educational outcomes, traditional educational academic outcomes, because the difficulty with that is that educational outcomes sit within a framework of learning, and it's very, very difficult to attribute improved learning outcomes or otherwise to just the use of ICT. And so in this way, good curriculum matters, good pedagogy matters, and effective use of ICT, of course, matters. A model called the TPAC model actually tells us that to hit the sweet spot in terms of children's learning and outcomes, we have to get an intersection between curriculum, pedagogy, and effective use of ICT, and of course that's what we're aiming for. I'll keep going with the book now, and we go into a section now that has three parts to it. We're talking about the benefits as we've discovered them this year, the challenges that have been posed this year, and also our recommendations for the expansion of the program into 2015. So the benefits that we've found, there are three clear benefits. And the first one is that they are tools of differentiation. So the devices we've been using this year, iPads, are clearly tools of differentiation. They've allowed us to access the curriculum in alternate ways, and they've provided us with a wide range of modes for children to investigate and communicate their understandings. The second one is that their effective use enhances motivation and engagement. And the third benefit is that their effective use makes them powerful vehicles of self-expression and creativity. There have been a number of challenges this year. The first one is the potential distractibility of the devices for the children, and this is something that's mirrored in international studies the world over. They can be distracting depending on how they're used. But as we've found, this has become less and less as the year has gone on, and most children have been able to become more independent in their habits and to limit that distractibility element of the device that's sitting on their desk. We've had concerns from parents who are unsure about the work their children are doing or not doing. The teachers have been a little concerned about the length of time it takes for quality information to be accessed when they're using the internet. And we've found that showcasing work, getting an authentic audience and getting stuff off the iPads has been a little difficult. As a result of the benefits as we've discovered them this year, and as a result of the challenges that we've had to overcome, we've come up with a list of recommendations for the expansion of the program into next year. The first recommendation is that this device, the iPad, should be viewed as a tool, and that it should only be used whenever it's the best tool for the job. As teachers, we have a model called the SAME-R model, which guides us in the best uses of technology so as to result in transformational outcomes in terms of children's learning. And if you're below the dotted line, it means that we're merely substituting the device for something else that could do the job as well, if not better. And so we believe that if it's the best tool for the job, it should be used. And if not, then don't use it. Number 2, the iPad should be used as a tool for differentiation, creativity, and self-expression. We've discovered that the students love having a myriad of options with which to demonstrate their understanding or communicate their understanding. Number 3, digital curation is essential if we are to continue with the BYO program, because it allows us to provide access to information and resources and thereby enabling us to scaffold the inquiry processes that are so inherent in many parts of our curriculum. And that movie there showcases a history iBook that we made to go along with Year 4 history this year. Number 4, we've discovered that digital citizenship must be an essential concept to be taught across the school. And the education of parents in this regard is also important. And currently we're trialling a short program in Year 4. We expect for the beginning of 2015 for there to be a program implemented across years 3, 4 and 5, and after that year a whole school model will be developed. Number 5, parents need an increased number of opportunities to learn alongside their children and to be reassured of processes and outcomes when the iPad is being used. We've talked about the fact that possibly offering a regular afternoon session on a Tuesday from about 2:15 while the children are at assembly might be a useful model for us to look at. We're also looking at other ways of supporting our parents in their learning journey as their children use these devices. We come to a section of the iBook in which we're showcasing some of the work that's been done this year across the last 3 terms in various areas of the curriculum. We start with maths, and we've found that the iPads as a learning device offer us a myriad of opportunities for enhancing understanding and communicating understanding in maths. And of course, drill and practice type apps are one thing that we've used the iPad for. The most impressive outcome, I think, though, is the ability of the iPad to make learning or thinking visible. And that is by using a screencasting app such as Explain Everything. Children are actually getting to make their thinking visible, which can help them in confirming their understanding. It can help the teacher to know that they do have an in-depth understanding of a concept, and it can help other students in the class who can benefit from a child's explanation of learning or thinking or a concept. On this page here, we've got an example of a mind map that's been used to explore a student's understanding of the number 10,000. We've also got an audio recording of a child speaking about some maths apps that they use. And then we've got a few different screencasts or screen recordings that are examples of what I was just talking about. That is the potential of the iPad to make thinking visible. There's another screencast there and another mind map. And this child was using mind mapping to represent their understanding of the areas of measurement. And of course, this activity using the iPads can be done over a period of time as more lessons are taught and as more concepts are dealt with, which means the child can be making links on their mind map to show their growing and progressive understanding. English is the next curriculum area that we've looked at in terms of gathering a few examples of children's work. And on this page here, we've got some examples of some mind maps that were used by the children to explore their understandings of the unit on the twits, which was all about how to construct a narrative effectively. So the children spent a long time looking at the characters and how an author would develop those characters in terms of all the language and vocab in a narrative piece of writing. There's also a screencast there, and that screencast is of the Twits book that was put together as the assessment task by the children at the end of this unit, and each child created and wrote an additional chapter for the Twits, and you can see that technology has enabled us to put that together as an ebook, which the children really love sharing and reading. Moving on, there are a couple of examples here of a C2C unit which was all about writing a traditional story, and just to show you the sequence of work that might be done in a situation like this, on the left is a planning sheet, a draft sheet, which is exactly what the children in non-iPad classes would have been using. And then the second example of work there is that same child taking that draft sheet and creating their final product. Tapping on that curriculum button also will give you the ACARA outcomes and also the C2C assessment task that was designed to be used at this time in Year 4 with these children. Moving on, this is an example of how the tool is excellent for differentiation, because this is exactly the same task, but for children who wish to take it further, they have the opportunity to do that because their stories can be created as an iBook in an app called Book Creator and then exported as movies, which allow us to share them a lot more easily. Moving on again, we've got blogging about character development in a quest novel, and the students were able to use an app or a website called KidBlog, which is safe and secure for teachers and students to use. The children have been able to blog about the characters, which is what C2C wanted us to do. They're also able to post any mind maps, images, movies that they do as part of that work. And really important for kids is the potential of something like this to provide them with an authentic audience, because others, including teachers, parents and kids, can actually comment on these and provide feedback to the students. The movie on the right was an example of something that was created by a child and then uploaded to KidBlog, and it is a little movie that was created to depict an interview between two characters from this quest novel. We come to science, and in science, students were exploring natural processes and human activity which caused weathering and erosion of the Earth's surface. They're also looking at endangered animals and exploring the environmental impacts upon the life cycles of these animals. The students were able to create final reports of endangered animals that were quite impressive in terms of their presentation. If I look at this one here for the southern cassowary, you can see that the iPad and the apps on it really lend themselves to children creating and producing things of which they can be quite proud. They've incorporated mind maps there. And also, very importantly, because it was an assessment task, they've been able to incorporate the concept map, which showed the animal's life cycle and all of the impacts, positive and negative, on that animal's life cycle. And if you look closely, the green boxes are those that are positive impacts, and the red boxes are ones that are negative impacts upon that animal's life cycle. We come to history, which was done late in the year. It was done in term 3 because geography was the focus for the first half of the year. And I think history as a curriculum area really benefited from the things that we'd found out prior in the first 6 months of the year. We were able to do some really exciting things in history, I think, and one of them was that we were able to use an app titled European Exploration in the Age of Discovery to really enhance the children's understanding of the beginning concepts of this unit, which were all about early European explorers and what this meant in terms of Australia, because they move on to the first fleet going to Australia. And the game was great because it placed the kids in the shoes of an explorer, and they had to set out from Spain, and they had to discover different parts which were previously black on the map to show that they were undiscovered. And I audio recorded a lot of kids talking about how this really motivated them to continue on with the unit, because the next assessment task was to research and to create a report on one of the explorers. And I think that it was a great start to this unit to use that game. And on this page you've got a number of things. You've got a mind map that that one of the children used to gather information as they did some research. You've got the curriculum links there in the pop-up, and then you've got a completed creation which was collaboratively constructed using a number of different apps to show these children's understandings of a particular European explorer. Another thing that we did as part of this unit was that as teachers and staff, we had collaboratively curated and created an iBook that supported this unit. So the students were able to have this on their iPad. They were able to take it home, to read it at home. They were able to interact with it and do the quizzes, and they were able to use it for their research as well. And this was a particularly exciting development, I think, with our program, and one that we hope to keep going with, because it's an example of curation, which means that we're gathering the information to present to the children. With geography, the students were looking at concepts associated with the Earth's ability to sustain all life, and Mrs. Sandsnes created a couple of ebooks to support them in their learning journey, which enabled them to do some mapping on the screen. And then for another unit, they were looking at reducing, reusing, and recycling. And the students were able to create a movie to convince other students to be more sustainable with the lunch that they were bringing to school. The next chapter of the book is titled Above and Beyond, and it depicts the learning journey for a couple of groups of students who chose to take part in a special project called the ICT Explorer Project. And these students made it through to the finals at UQ, and we were particularly proud of the fact that these students came up with very important, authentic messages, and that ICT was basically their vehicle for communication. Our findings from the trial. As parents, parents were able to talk to us at any time about their feelings. We did do one formal online survey at the end of term 1 and asked various questions of the parents about how they thought that the trial was going and what they had wanted to be the outcomes for their particular children. We will do another online survey midway through term 4 of this year, and that's when reports or at least parent-teacher interviews have been concluded. We also sent out a questionnaire midway through this term and invited parents to respond to that. And we also invited parents in to have an audio recording done of them answering various questions, and they're all in there as part of the iBook. In the iBook also are the challenges and concerns that a lot of parents had expressed to us. We come to the section on the students' feedback and the data that we collected from them. Once again, we did conduct a survey with the students at the same time as the one that we conducted with the parents. And we will do that again halfway through term 4. We also have conducted quite gradually throughout the year audio recordings and interviews with the students, and anything that's been said to us that we've been able to get down, we have endeavoured to do that. The teacher chapter is still under creation and won't be actually completed until the end of the year. And so I hope you've enjoyed that screen recording of that book. It was just meant to be an overview and to enable people who might not be able to access iBooks, to give them a bit of an insight into what we have found as part of this trial as well.